not, or it will address it, or...
I suspect the NPR will not address that directly. No.
But I think
that's my guess. If it remember, this is supposed to be a document about doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then at lower levels, they'll make a decision. Oh, the president says he wants to do X, Y, and Z. What are the tools that we need to do that? But the tools will not be laid out in the policy, in the doctrine document.
Biden kind of addressed it in his speech.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But I think that, I mean, I don't know what's going to be in the NPR.
Well, the old NPR from 2001 obviously speaks about the infrastructure, the responsive infrastructure and the ability to produce nuclear weapons if we need to. It explicitly proposed some. They didn't happen for a variety of reasons. But Obama has already committed to no new nuclear weapons.
That can be defined a lot of ways.
That's the point.
Yeah.
There's a huge gray area. When does something become different enough that it's considered new, even though it's not an entirely new design? And so far, as far as I can see, the only parameter that people have used to judge whether a warhead is new is whether the yield is different. If otherwise it is the same military characteristics, we're just doing a replacement or refurbishment, la-di-da. But if you change the military characteristics of the weapon significantly, and the yield has always been used as an example.
So
but another example that has come up recently is the changes in the fusing.
Oh yeah.
See, that's a non-nuclear part of it, and so that doesn't get
doesn't count.
The change in the fusing, if I can very carefully adjust the height of burst, or I can do ground burst, that can have a profound effect on the military utility, and that does not get included as a new nuclear warhead. Oh, well, that's the electronics on the outside, but it's not the nuclear part.
Right. So isn't the Obama administration playing a game here by saying we don't want any new warheads, but we'll leave it vague enough that the people who want new warheads can justify whatever we do as being new?
We don't know they're playing a game. I don't think there's anything out there that can prove that they're not, but I don't think... It might be that they really are going to not develop any new nuclear warheads, but...
You regard it as sophisticated?
No. I'm just saying that you have to be very... I think that the definition of what the insiders call a new nuclear warhead is so narrowly defined that most people outside the debate would be fooled by this if they weren't paying very, very careful attention. I agree with that. But that doesn't mean that they're planning on exploiting this loophole to kind of sneak a new nuclear warhead past us. I don't know. The capability is there to do the sneaking, but whether the motivation is there, I have no idea.
I remember, there's one, just to follow up on Ivan's point there about the fuse. It specifically concerns the W-76 warhead on the Trident missiles, where they have developed a new fuse that would allow them to essentially, significantly increase the capability of the warheads against hard targets. And this has been described by top Navy officials and nuclear officials all the way back to the mid-1990s when they started this project. It's not a secret. But he wasn't taken into the debate. And I remember, and I think I can say this public, it was a public meeting, I remember asking Ellen Tauscher, when she was in the House, whether that was acceptable to add, a new capability to a weapon that significantly enhanced its military capability. And I remember his response was that, who can be against increased accuracy if you can thereby reduce the number of nuclear weapons? That was the math. And so we hear some of the same things in the arguments being used for why we should build a new plutonium pit production factory down in Los Alamos. Because by doing so, being able to produce a lot of weapons if we need to, we can reduce our stockpile of reserve weapons. So these things are being played out, in these ways too.
And also, another point on the newness, you have to realize that we're not applying consistent definitions here. Often the advocates of a RRW, they say, well, the Russians are developing new nuclear weapons, and if you push them on that. You say, well, do you know that they're doing new nuclear designs? No, they're building new re-entry vehicles, new missiles. They'll do nose cones on the outside, and that counts as a new weapon when the Russians do it, but it's not a new weapon when they do it.
I have one question. One of the keywords I was advised to look at in the NPR is the sole purpose of possessing the nuclear thing. What do you think it will be in the document, or what is your estimation on that?
Yeah, well, partly what Hans's work is that nuclear weapons will be focused on nuclear weapons. Is that what has changed? I mean, at the end of the Cold War, there was sort of this. We could have gone down one of two routes and said, look, we have the standoff with the Soviet Union, now Russia, and we don't need nuclear weapons anymore, and we could have gone down the route of major reductions. The other route we could have taken would be that, we have all these nuclear weapons, but basically, they're essential for our security, but they've been checkmated by the Russian forces. Now the Russian forces have gone away. Now suddenly we can use nuclear weapons in ways we couldn't have before. And the Bush administration sort of took that route, enlarging the pool of targets available. And so now, preemption against chemical and biological weapons was allowed in the Bush administration. And I think that will go away. So you'll have it that nuclear weapons are only a response to nuclear weapons, but that will stop short of a declaration of no first use, that nuclear weapons, the sole purpose will not be just retaliation against nuclear attack, but it will still include preemptive options. That's my guess. I don't think that there's
I think that's my sense too.
Yeah, I would bet large amounts of money on,
You mentioned the Trident. Can I just add quickly, for those of us who spent the last 8 years focusing on Iraq and Afghanistan, but not hugely familiar with our laydown on you're saying that the Navy has removed the Tomahawks, the tactical nukes from the attack subs and from the surface fleet. Obviously, there still are the missile boats.
Oh yeah.
And those are those only strategic? Are they only Russia, China?
Only.
Okay.
Well, no, they're also the regions.
Okay, so that's what I was confused about.
Yeah.
So you can use, when you look at the war plan, you can use submarine-launched ballistic missiles.
That's the point.
As part of the region.
That's the beauty of the new war plan, if you will. That it used to be that under what was called the PSYOP during the Cold War, the Single Integrated Operational Plan, it was a very structured, rigid format, if you will. Certain chunks of the stockpile were assigned to certain scenarios and missions and what have you. What this plan does